These footballers had the fame, the money, the access, but their hair transplants still show some of the most common mistakes people need to avoid. A hair transplant can look good from one angle, under one light, but once you change your haircut, buzz it off, step outside, or let it age a few years, the issues may start to show. Before we start, my name is Matt Dominance, and since 2018, I've helped thousands of people navigate the hair transplant world the right way, avoid bad clinics, protect their donor area, and make better long-term decisions before their surgery. I had 3 hair transplants myself plus 1 correction surgery and visited multiple clinics around the world. If you are new considering a hair transplant and wanting to do it the right way, you have to check out my must-watch hair transplant playlist, and if you are already shortlisting clinics or comparing surgeons, check out the free hair transplant checklist. The links are in the video description below. Let's come to our first footballer, Wayne Rooney. He's an example of what I'm trying to illustrate in today's video. Wayne Rooney's first hair transplant was 16 years ago. He's known for paying 30,000 plus British pounds for his 2 initial FUE hair transplant procedures he has likely done in the UK. As we can see on some of these photos, he had a decent cosmetic improvement out of it, but due to his fine hair type, he should have chosen a better surgeon who would have been able to give him a better density and coverage for those 2 hair transplants. Because honestly, paying 30,000 British pounds while your hair transplant still looks like this on a daylight is not optimal. Part of the problem was this: he started losing hair very early on, back in his teens. Actually, similarly to myself, this is me at 17. And even at the age of 24 to 25, we shared kind of a similar balding. But here's exactly where our hair loss journeys started to deviate. He got his first hair transplant, and what I like about it, they chose actually a good hairline design that actually had a potential to mature well long term. It was positioned a bit higher, the hairline was rounded, and it didn't involve any aggressive temporal hair restoration since he was in his mid-20s at that time, and also showing signs of a higher Norwood 5 with diffuse thinning that could potentially be reaching towards Norwood 6 in the future. Now, going with C-bum style hairline would have been a total disaster. Fortunately, that did not happen. The improvement after his first surgery was clear, but he was still relying heavily on fibers, especially during his matches. Now, there are 2 reasons why his hair transplant did not age the best and did not reach its fullest potential. Number 1, he was likely not using medication, and probably he still isn't throughout his whole hair loss journey. This is why we have seen continuous hair loss with Wayne Rooney over time, despite having had many hair transplants. And number 2, as I said, he chose a surgeon who was not able to do a higher graft session on him. He did not use small punches and thus could have more efficiently utilized his donor area over time. And let's be honest, it wasn't even that common because at that time, it's 2012, 2016, where there were not many surgeons in the UK doing quality FUE work, and especially not more than 2,000 grafts per session. And for people who are saying like, hey, he couldn't do finasteride because it was banned by anti-doping agency. Yes, it's true. FIFA banned it also between 25 and 28, but also unbanned it in 28. The same happened with World Anti-Doping Agency, where finasteride was unbanned as a potentially steroid masking substance back in 29. So Rooney had no reason not to take it in 2010 and the time after that when he was getting his first hair transplant done. Now, what I like about his result right now at the age of 40 is that his hairline does look soft, it looks natural, the hairline design and positioning match his age and look great overall. And that's exactly because the positioning initially in 2010 was set the right way. At least the hair still looks thin on the daylight especially, but hey, with this fine hair, with this thin hair in his donor, there's not much more that he could have done. The best thing with these guys who have fine hair and high grade balding potential, they just need to get on medication early on so that they will never lose so much and then spend all of the grafts for restoring like half of their head in a really good density. That's like the key secret to making any fine hair guy like having dense head of hair with the help of hair transplant and medication. Now, Rooney did not do it, and that's why he did not achieve that full potential. Now, in the end, I think his hair transplants were worth it, because had it not been the case, I think he wouldn't have had that confidence, and I do believe that his new hair era did did contribute a lot to him helping Manchester United win a lot of championships. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Now, moving on. Number 2, David Beckham. Wait, Matt, what? David Beckham? His hair looked amazing his whole life, and it still does. Well, here is what I see. His hair did look great up to like his early 40s. But in the last 10 years, if you look closely, the diffuse thinning pattern his dad exactly has also started to show with David. By now, he must have had multiple hair transplants. There is no debate about it, although it has not been publicly confirmed, unlike with Wayne Rooney. But here's actually one thing that I pointed out in 2023 and I made a video about it. So if you look close up, this was his old buzz cut before his hair transplants, and that's how his buzz cut looks right now. What can you see? My point is why the rounded out concave shape right here. This is completely new and it wasn't there before. This is not what the best hair transplant surgeon would normally design, and especially not on a male patient. This is a clear female style forehead framing. Now, his old natural buzz cut that was rather straightish did not have that, and his temples showed a more rounded recession already quite early on, which is already the sign that your sides will likely keep on thinning out and you will lose that temporal peaks maybe rather earlier in your life. And this is definitely not a huge screaming issue unlike some of the later ones in this video, and whenever he keeps his hair rather long you cannot really see it, but it had to be clear to David that he will likely go in his father's footsteps. And if we look at his Norwood 6 pattern and very receded temples, non-existent temple peaks, and even thinning hair on the sides, David's surgeon had to know that designing it in this shape was not really a smart idea, and it's not something that will age well. Now, if you zoom in, not only is the hair in this area looking a bit more darker, stronger, and thicker than his existing hair on sides, it also seems like they did even use the stronger hair from the back of the head for transplanting this part. Instead, they should have used the hair, thinner ones from the sides. This type of hair also starts graying a bit quicker, and that way it could start graying at the same time as the restored temple, and it would have the same texture, the same fineness to it, and thus it would look more undetectable. It's unfortunately not the case, and whenever he has that type of buzz cut, we can just see that contrast, and people who know, they know that there is something off. Now, I would suggest to do something like this. If I were in his situation, I could have repaired it. That would be the ideal type of recession that I would go for, and not closing these frontotemporal transitions in that female-like fashion. The good thing is that at least they did not use high density of transplanted follicles in that area, so that it can still be fixed easily later by either removing these grafts completely or just lasering them off and getting rid of them, and then reshaping the temple again in a more natural way over time as the rest of the temple will keep on receding backwards. Now, if you look at this failed video where he accidentally shaved off a portion of his mid-scalp, we can actually see him having a decent density for a 51-year-old with this short buzz cut, and it doesn't even seem like he has done a lot of SMP that will be contributing to that fullness as many people have debated over time. Now, whenever you see him outside with a longer hair, you'll probably see it's looking very thick, and that's also partially because of his love for using hair fibers that make it look fuller and thicker. Nonetheless, wishing him and his hair all the best, and now moving on. Another one on our list is Xherdan Shaqiri. Xherdan Shaqiri has had a hair transplant between 2019 and 2020, where I also made a video on him on this channel. You can watch the detailed breakdown below. You see many multiple grafts in the hairline. It's looking pluggy and zigzaggy at the same time, which is not good. Now, the hairline has concave shape on kind of both sides, and it is the same issue as David Beckham has, but much worse because it's kind of extending way further, and also the hairs are placed in much higher densities there, so it will be harder to camouflage or fix, and it would also look way more obvious on a buzz cut than with David Beckham's buzz cut. Of course, if you look at it as a whole, or if you observe it from a distance, it really helps him with the density, with better coverage if we compare this to before. However, he cannot really buzz that hair short, cannot really slick it back, he cannot really expose that frontal hairline because then the imperfections will start to be very visible. I had a similar issue myself, as I told you guys, so I know that this can be a pain in the ass, and then you just need to stick to one specific hairstyle that kind of makes you look good, like you have good head of hair, but also kind of hides the bad stuff in the hairline. Actually, in my opinion, he was one that had the best potential to get the best result because he has really good donor. He doesn't seem to be losing as much hair compared to Wayne Rooney at his age, so he can definitely fix that and really get a strong, natural, and very indetectable result that will help him be way more flexible in a way how he can style his hair in the future. And now moving on, the last on our list is Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas had his hair transplant, although unconfirmed officially, likely in 2014, which is almost 12 years ago, and initially it really worked out. In fact, it did give him a really good hair for quite some time. They did a nice hairline, enhanced it with his thicker and kind of wavier hair. It's really good hair for the texture and coverage after the hair transplant, and he definitely should have looked much better now, 10 to 12 years later. But unfortunately, if we see this short buzz cut on him back from 2023, we see that there is something off. And I'm going to tell you why. Two things were responsible for this look. Number one, bad long-term planning and not taking medication, which means your hair transplant has a higher chance of aging badly. So I like to always tell people the buzz cut after the hair transplant will reveal the whole truth. And that's the case in here as well. From this recent image in 2023, we can see how distinct these temples are looking, and that's because they were enhanced, they were transplanted likely in his 20s together with the hairline, and they have been done quite aggressively and quite densely. So right now we can see the gap behind forming, meaning he's not on medication, he's likely not stabilizing his continuous hair loss, which by the way I think David Beckham is doing now, and I forgot to mention that because considering how weak the temples and sides of his dad are, I do believe David Beckham would be much worse off right now had he not used any hair loss stabilization, because his buzz cut looks quite good overall except for these small flaws. So Cesc Fabregas is only 39, so he can still get much more out of his hair at this point, because I do believe he had one, maybe two hair transplants, and his front is still looking quite thin, so I would definitely work on enhancing that with one more hair transplant, maybe softening these temples in a way, maybe removing some bad grafts out of there and adding some more singles in low densities in these gaps behind the restored temples, so it's gonna blend much better. And the good thing about it is that these temples don't need high densities because the angles are very flat, so you just need a few grafts to fill that gap in here. So it is fixable, you can correct that. It's a shame that he did not think about this before, because he wouldn't have even needed to end up in this situation. I tell people who are in their 20s always, if you want to do temples, always be sure that you are on medication, always be sure that you don't have that high Norwood potential, that your father, that your uncles from mother and father side or grandpas, they don't have that heavy recession in the temples, unlike we are seeing with Cesc Fabregas' father will likely be the same thing. And in that case, really reconsider how you really want to do that temporal strategy for life. I would rather not touch them in the 20s and consider something in your 30s if you are a low Norwood, if you have really good donor, and if you are on medication. This is the safest strategy. If not, you will end up with something like that, and then you will need to keep fixing it with more transplants. It's not going to be the end of the world, okay? Some people can live like this, and after all, if you just keep that hair longer, you will be fine, and you're just going to mask it. It's just not going to look the best when the hair is shorter on sides, because you will see that gap way more, and the result will not just progress in that natural aging, but there will be some ups and downs that you will need to deal with. So let's see if he's going to fix it somehow. I do think his hair has that nice coverage potential and it could be improved. He should still have some grafts in his donor, and he's from Spain, where there are plenty of really good surgeons who specialize in this hair type and would love to handle his case. Wishing him all the best as well. And now that you know what are the things that you need to avoid, the mistakes that you don't want to repeat from these gentlemen right there, check out this video next, where I'm talking about the best footballers' hair transplant transformations and what makes makes them natural? What made them age well? Check it out and see you there.